Return to Glory podcast, September 25th. Hunter Zarbanicki, Austin Rose, Dakota Freetag. It's Purdue week, bounce back week after the loss to Illinois last Friday, and an opponent, I'm going to say it, that feels beatable.
Is that all you want to leave that at, Hunter?
For right now,
God, you'd hope so.
For right now, yes. I know that Husker fans' emotions have been all over the place since the Friday loss, including ours, beating ourselves up probably for getting our hopes up like we do every year, but we're here and we're 3-1. I first want to start off the top. Did any of you guys think that we would go 7-0? Like, truly believe it?
If you beat Colorado, yeah.
I thought we were going to go 7-5 on the year, so maybe 8-4. So I didn't think we were going to go 7-0. I thought we were going to drop one.
Are you talking before the season or coming into the Illinois game?
I guess, I mean, at any point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought going into the year if you beat Colorado, you would, but also the other teams you're playing now are better than what I thought. Not saying this team you play this week, they are worse than I thought, but the other teams are better.
Well, look at you, Dak, being the aggressive 7-0. I think it's been thrown out there, obviously, by a lot of people. I just don't know that many actually truly thought, like, given free money, you would put your money on us going 7-0 versus anything other than that. Like, I don't know. I think that was fun to believe and think about, but I don't know I ever got myself there. So to that point, and I think the mindset with the team, we have to kind of not reset completely, but believe, this is still a good football team. And just because we lost one game, and we can say the word if this happened all we want, but just because we lost one game doesn't make us now a horrible football team. That's where I just don't know where to sit anymore, because we have a game this week against Purdue, who I think we all kind of thought maybe Purdue's really bad and we're in that next tier, but it's still a Big Ten game, and they're not an FCS school. They're not UTEP. We got to show up and play well, and I don't think we'll overlook them, but it's our first road game too. First road game for Dylan Raiola. So I think that's the first thing I wanted to mention, was that just think big picture. I did not think we were going 7-0. I don't think many people really believed it. I think a lot of people maybe thought 6-1 or 5-2 is feasible. That's still attainable. And these teams that we play coming up, some of them maybe are a little bit better, Indiana, Rutgers, than what we might have thought, but it's not like they're top 15 teams, right? They're going to be games that if we play well, we'll beat them.
Yeah, I think having sat on it for several days, I feel better about, like, you look back at the Illinois game, it's like you can clearly see where we left points on the table, but we put ourselves in position to leave points on the table. Not that that's a good thing, but it's like, okay, it's not doom and gloom. Like, you're right. We're a good football team. We're not great. We're not a winning football team to an extent. I mean, we are 3-1, but I feel better about the team today than I did Sunday, but I felt pretty bad about the team Sunday following Friday.
Now, I could have looked this up, but I feel like at Purdue has been a house of horrors for you guys since you win the Big Ten. I don't know what the record is. I should have looked it up, but that's what I feel like.
A lot of Big Ten games in the last 5 years, so Purdue is on that list.
One of my road wins is at Purdue, I think back in 2017, but it has not been great. We have lost 4 of our last 6 games to Purdue. So it's not a team that we've just handled, but like Austin said, no one has. So yeah. I heard this too, and I think it's worth talking about here. we talk about other teams, and I think everybody has in the Big Ten teams specifically in our minds the games that you should win or are winnable games, the games that are going to be a little tougher. You kind of tier it out in your mind. I mean, I think Purdue is one of those teams in the bottom tier of however many teams you want to put in there, 4, 5, 6 teams. How do other teams view Nebraska? The Big Ten. And I think there's a lot that goes into this because we do obviously have a history. And I do think that teams probably had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because of that history when they played us. But over the last 10 to 15 years, like, do other teams look at us as record wise, we are like one of the bottom, if not at the bottom of the Big Ten.
Are we talking from the team perspective or fan base perspective? Because I definitely think fans think of us as like an easy win.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit of both. I think obviously with good coaching, you can frame players' minds to treat every game one game at a time and every opponent's good. But I mean, even thinking about players, right? Like you can't tell me that our players are looking at or thinking about Purdue differently than if we were playing Ohio State this weekend. Like there's definitely a clear separation tier wise of what you think the other team has. And I mean, I think Purdue is, while they are still, I think, going to be tough, I don't think we're going to blow them out. Hint for my prediction. I don't think we're going to roll them on Saturday, but I think that we as kind of view as a Purdue as a team like we should be beating every year. And I'm wondering, what do you think Purdue fans feel about Nebraska, especially since they've won 4 of the last 6?
We should have asked our resident Purdue fan.
I think a lot of Big Ten teams right now, fans go on their schedule and they count Nebraska as a win. I'm not like the middle of the road teams, I would say. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC, Oregon all would count them as wins. But I think Purdue, probably not this year, but normally just chalked it up as a win on their schedule because they have beat you guys so much since you've been in the Big Ten.
Like I completely agree. I truly think that we sometimes view ourselves, and I say we speaking from a general fan perspective, as maybe a little bit higher than some of these teams, but like when it comes down to it, we are in the tier not with Iowa and Wisconsin, as much as we want to say maybe we're there. And I'm just speaking from the last 5 to 10 years. Like we are with the Marylands, the Indianas, the Northwesterns, Purdue's, Rutgers. That's where we're at. And I think other fans probably think of us that way a little bit too. And anytime that's kind of the laughing stock of anytime we think that we're better, or, you hear someone say Nebraska's going to be 7-0, they're like, yeah.
I mean, let's just be real about it. Nebraska's been one of the worst Big Ten teams since they've joined it. One of the worst teams in the conference.
Yeah, I think early on we were, we made a conference title game, right? Like,
yeah.
I say post.
But so was Northwestern.
I'd say post Bo Pelini, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like thinking about this, Hunter. It makes me sad.
It puts everything into perspective a little bit, I think. So, okay. Rules press conference Monday. A couple weeks ago, after we beat Colorado, he mentioned that we are a winning football team, and now we are on the way to becoming a championship football team. I thought at the time it sounded cool. Maybe we jumped the gun a little bit, and now we're back to talking about how to get guys to win. And specifically in 1-score games, things aren't going well. Matt Rule is 1-7, 1-6, 1-7 now.
This team is only 0-1 though.
This team's 0-1. Obviously we know what's happened in the past couple of years. We've seemed to find every possible way to lose. And we could go through about every scenario, and then the next week a new scenario comes up and we found a way to lose. And I think a lot of things last year under a new coaching staff, we thought, all right, let's get a quarterback. if we get a quarterback that's going to fix a lot of things, and it has. But now the thing that we thought was maybe fixed and moving in the right direction, our defense, you could argue they were the reason why we lost on Friday. Obviously, special teams, we don't need to go down that path. But we've lost in a billion different ways, and a lot of them have been by one score. Obviously, overtime, I think the word that was used was debacle by the coaching staff. So, and the last thing Rule said about the winning, he called it, the chicken and the egg, what comes first? How do you teach guys to win when they've never won? He talks a lot about the younger guys, how they don't really, know, like obviously Dylan freshman, but the older guys, when they game gets tight, they get tight, pressure gets built up, and we end up losing the game. Whereas the younger guys are playing more free flowing. They don't really have that pressure, but the ones that have been through it and been through it a lot, it's affecting the outcome of a game like that. And I think the question is, how do you fix it? Right? We've identified the problem. We've seen all of the how to lose one score games, right? The question is, how do you fix it and move past it? And I am sure Coach Rule, staff, like they are probably experimenting with 100 different things, right, to fix that. I'm sure Scott Frost had his methods and approaches. I don't know there's a right answer. I don't know that there's a wrong answer at this point because we probably tried about everything. So eventually we think that it should flip, but I don't think we've ever actually asked the question amongst ourselves and talked about it. Like, if you are the head coach at Nebraska or on the coaching staff, what specifically are you doing in teaching the players on how to win one score games? And we're going to discuss this here and give our ideas. Dak, you just look like the next Joe Paterno.
Yeah.
You got it all.
Yeah, I thought about this all day. I honestly couldn't think about how to coach the player because I think it comes down to coaching.
That's the question.
I know that more. I know. Anyway, yeah, you guys go first.
No, you're first. That's why I went to you. Don't brush us off.
Okay. I think one of the main things you probably got to do is conditioning. I mean, there's got to be a reason why these teams beat you in the end. They got to have more. You got to think that they can last longer than you guys can during the game. Have more stamina to go out throughout the game. Like you guys just must die out at the end. Something's going on there where you can't close out games. The next one is, which this on coaching, I guess. They got to know how to coach.
Stop.
What?
It is coaching. You are the coach. That's what we're saying. You're the coach. I'm saying everything kind of falls back. If you're the coach, you're fixing it. So yes.
What is your plan to fix it?
Okay.
What would you
suggest?
What
is your plan as the coach to fix it?
You go find a hill. You make those players run 1,000 times up it. That's first off. Second off, you grab your kickers. You make those guys kick for 7 days straight. Don't let them sleep at all until they make a kick, because that's what close games come down to. A lot of special teams. I mean, other than that, and turnovers. You sit there and have guys just punch at your running backs all day long until they don't fumble or anything. There you go.
Genius.
There we go. Let's pass that on to the coaching staff. So what's interesting, you actually you called out 3 things that I would call the physical part of the game. I mean, kicking, I think you could talk about the mental side there, but like conditioning, I'm not gonna say I disagree with you, but it makes me laugh. That's definitely a physical thing. And then like fumbling and turnovers, like, yes, like that is something we've talked about at lengths. You gave that solution before of just punching at the ball. I love it.
Hasn't changed.
We did win the turnover battle, and we've been doing well at that this year. So I will
say we're +5, +4 this year, something like that.
So we're doing well there. The kicking thing goes and fits right into this. And I heard this and I like it. A kicker a good kicker probably wins you 1.5 to 2 games in the Big Ten. Last year, probably could have, would have, should have won us more. Brett Maher is on the staff now, has been, I guess, for about a month.
I'm surprised this is the first. I hadn't heard of it until the press conference this week.
No one has, and
I was thinking about this. When was the last kicker you guys had that he went out there and you were trusting he's gonna make a field goal?
We had the Big Ten kicker of the year, what, 4 years ago?
Connor Colt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that.
Alex
Outside
Henry?
of that 1 year, outside of that 1 year, it's been bad, and it's, I mean, almost to the point that it's just ridiculous. Like, what do you do? I think getting someone like that on staff could help. I think people are blowing it out of proportion how much it could help. I think a lot of it is mental, and I think that needs to get figured out. I thought it was interesting. Rule mentioned
Performance coach, mentality, mentality coach.
Yeah, mentality coach. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, I kind of like
the Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll approach.
Yep, like a psychologist sitting, picking your brains. I thought that was interesting.
I mean, that kick that guy trying against Illinois looked like if I was trying to hit a 7-iron. It's going 150 yards right. That kick was not even close.
You do not hit a 7-iron 150 yards.
Right.
You don't hit it that far. Don't even try to think.
Damn, let me shop a little here.
And you also don't hit it right.
Lex. Either way, I'm shanking it, whatever direction I'm shanking in. That dude shanked that ball.
Austin, I want to hear your thoughts. Like, if you were the coach,
well,
give me a little bit of Bill Belichick, maybe a little bit of Nick Saban, Dabo twist in there. What are you doing specifically to help us get over this 1-score game hump that we just can't seem to get over?
Like Dak, I also chewed on this you said this yesterday, and I thought about it last night. I thought about today, and honestly, I think the mentality coach is something I would do at that level. I definitely think there's something to the mentally putting yourself in those situations and executing in your brain over and over, and eventually that can lead to performance on the field. Outside of that, I mean, your best chance is to create some sort of high pressure situation in practice, and I don't know what the best way to do that is without completely just ruining morale. Whether it's throw your kicker out there, hey, you hit this kick, or you hit X number of these field goals on your way back, or if you don't hit these number of field goals, your team has to run, something like that. I don't know how to create fake pressure, but I think that's how you'd have to do it as far as the kicking game goes. For the team execution, I think you just have to be, for a couple of years, just be brutal about execution. And if you don't execute, you get pulled. Just being willing to put out people out there who aren't your best talent. Just be like, all right, we're going to lose this game. We're going to lose it with someone who's actually doing their job right. He might not be the fastest or biggest, but he's not getting a holding call or fumbling the ball. I think that's it. And honestly, Rule's kind of doing all of that, which makes sense. He gets paid a ton of money to come up with these coaching things to solve the problem that we're talking about. And I don't disagree with Dak. I do think conditioning is just being bigger and stronger, and at the end of the game, being able to not have to hold because you're getting blown by on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think you can argue that, like, talent, right? You can make that argument that we have the talent to win these games.
Because we're there. That's why you can make that argument, is we're in the game. That's why it's not a talent thing.
Before you go, Hunter, I think, which I don't know, I think me and Austin probably both said this for a while, is because this loss was different than your 1-score losses from the years before. There wasn't turnovers. There wasn't. So this one was different. It's like, there was
a missed kick, which
that was
the point too. And I mean, the press conference, Rule talked about kicking for a long time because he's like, it shouldn't be this hard to find a kicker. Is essentially what he said without saying it.
That wasn't why you lost the game, though. I mean, it definitely helped, but
yes, the special teams all day was bad. and other things were bad too, but you can easily point to you got to hit the 38-yard field goal
Yep.
with 3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, you made an interesting point, and that is why Rule gets paid the big bucks. That's why Scott Frost got paid the big bucks. Like, it is their job to fix it. And yeah, it was a different way of losing and uncharacteristic of what we saw at least last year. And like I said, a lot of it probably could be on our defense. And it sounds like our defense is pretty upset. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. This week is the language that I've been hearing. So that's a good sign. Hopefully we see it come out on Saturday against Purdue, because I have a feeling Purdue's going to have a very determined, run heavy mindset, and we better be ready to go. Otherwise, we're going to get in a dogfight again and another one score game, and we have to find a way to win one of those. That's exactly what Rule said. Like, if you don't know how to win them and you haven't done it and you haven't felt it, what it's like to win one of those, and you really don't know how to do it. So that's the big solution we're trying to figure out here. So one of mine, I have 4 things. Mine are, I mean, your guys are very
Generic.
I don't say not say generic, but mine are maybe even more generic in some senses. Um, Austin, you touched on one of mine: extreme pressure with consequences. And
Yeah.
I've never coached football. I don't know how practices are organized. But whatever drills we're doing, and team stuff, individual stuff, group stuff, situational stuff, I'm sure a lot of that goes on in practice. There has to be extreme pressure with consequences. And sometimes consequences doesn't have to be running stairs. I mean, it can be, but you have to know and understand your players, what matters to them. And you just have to continue to pile that on. And I'm sure there is stuff like this that is going on constantly too. I'm not saying that we're not doing that, but I think that needs to be emphasized, that situational football, there just needs to be extreme pressure. Second thing, everything in practice must have a winner and a loser, and you must celebrate the winners, and the losers must hate it and make them hate losing, and it's not acceptable. And then the winner should be able to celebrate. And this can be anything from a very little tiny drill, but you must make winners and losers. And there's a clear line. If you don't do something exactly right, you're going to lose, whether it be a head-to-head Oklahoma drill, right? No matter how physical you are, there's a winner and a loser, and everything needs to be defined that way in practice. Even in film session, you're either winning this film session or you're losing this film session. All right. And how do you win this film session? What are the steps you need to take to get yourself to win this film session when you're in there studying a game that you know, of yourself or of another team? So that's the second thing. Third thing, and this is generic coach speak, but I think it's important. I think we're probably doing this to some extent, especially this week, but practices have to be so much harder than games, as far as the environment that you're playing in, the conditioning that you're doing, the situations that you're doing. Hell, sometimes throw 13 guys out there on defense and you have to drive down with 2 minutes to go offense, and you have 2 extra defenders out there. Good luck. Like, make it so much harder for a unit to perform. So that way, when you get to a game and there is that added pressure, you say, oh, I've done this before with 2 extra defenders out there. Or, yeah, we were down 1 offensive lineman. Now, I know with scheming and stuff, it might not work exactly that way. But I do think that if you are practicing harder and making things tough, right, situational football is going to seem a lot easier. And that's a lot of times what this comes down to. We've had good drives, right? We've had good both offensively and defensively. My last big thing, and this kind of culminates to everything, we will not win 1-score games until we start to have player-led leadership. And really, it's off of the coaches' hands, and the coaches aren't doing the work anymore. Once the team transforms into that, and I think you'll probably hear coaches talk about that, like saying that it is. I mean, to an extent, maybe. But until the players are truly leading each other and there's that level of expectation from each other that we are not losing this game, and everybody knows that. There's no doubt. You think you have a little bit of sense of doubt in your mind. You see someone pouting after a drop ball. The players know how to pick each other up and get the mindset of we're not losing this game. And then ultimately, by the time of the end of the game comes, you have more points than the other team. I think the key step to that is getting Raiola to that point as the quarterback. Here's the problem right now. A lot of our leaders, who are they?
Defense.
They're defensive guys, but they're older guys. And they're
they're all older.
They're guys that have been through these one-score losses. So it is hard for if they can't believe it and see it and say, nope, we're winning every game and have that mindset of it's just not happening, then it's going to be hard for everybody else to follow suit. So I think some younger guys are going to have to step up in that leadership from a mentality standpoint, not necessarily maybe, being named a captain by any means, but like Dylan is eventually, I think this year could get to a point where he has the ability to bark orders where needed and, get on his offensive line and say, no, like you guys are going to have the best series of the season right now because we're down 3 and we need to go down and score a touchdown here with 4 minutes left. And you're going to do it right now. I don't know that Dylan even should have been doing that right away. It's hard to do that. You're a new freshman, true freshman. But I think he can evolve into that role. And I think that's going to be very important to fix a lot of these things. It's all going to circle around him.
No, I agree. I agree with that pressure. The balancing act is you can't overcorrect to where no one's enjoying it, morale is down, and no one wants to be on your team. Like there's that balance.
We've seen that all. We've seen the Bo Pelini. And then we saw the opposite. And we saw the Scott Frost and Mike Riley of the don't address it and just publicly say they know they made a mistake. Like we'll figure it out. Right. There is. You're right. There's a balance. I think Rule sits in the middle there and it's good.
Yes, I agree.
I was also thinking about this the other day. Every single one of Bielema's teams, back to Wisconsin, has always been more physical than Nebraska. He knows how to be more physical than you guys.
And that's what Rule said in the press conference. He's like, yeah, Illinois came in, they wanted to win the game. Like they were here to beat us. They weren't here to play football. They were here to beat us. And we were not there to beat them. We were there to play football. And then we got tight.
I completely agree. I think all that factors into it. Okay, so moving to Purdue. Now that we know how to win one-score games, Purdue's 1-2. They just demolished Indiana State, who I assume is really bad, and then got demolished by Notre Dame and Oregon State the past 2 weeks. Ryan Walters, their head coach, did his second season. I read an interesting report article that someone interviewed a Purdue podcaster, and just to get their opinions on where their fan base, players, where they think they're at. He said the fan base is pretty split right now on Walters in the future. Obviously, it's only a second year. Supposed to have a strong defensive background. They're kind of struggling there as of late.
I saw in the World Herald that 7 out of Walters' 15 games, they've given up 35 points or more.
There you go.
So almost half. It's not what you hope for out of a defensive specialist coach.
Yeah, he might not have much time left.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think this is a game, obviously, that they probably think they need to win or at least play well in for them to see progress. They're going to be desperate. And I will say that because, they have not looked good. And they're at the point where they're either going to make the move up or move down. And we're going to get their best shot. It is homecoming. I think it was named beginning of the season a sellout. I'll be surprised if the stands are completely filled. I expect there to be a lot of Nebraska fans there as normal, but they're going to give us our best shot. And their best way of doing that this year is not what Purdue normally does. It's their run game. And I think that's what they want to do more so than anything now. with their two big running backs, with Devin Mockabee and Reggie Love III. They're going to try to establish a run and control the clock. Their offensive coordinator is Graham Harrell. Mike Leach, coaching tree. Air raid.
Texas.
They're not going to do that as much as you think. They lost a couple of receivers to the portal. They don't even have a receiver that has over 100 yards yet. Their tight end, Max Clare, is their go-to receiver. He's averaging about 50 yards a game. But they're not going to be this 5-wide, 4-wide team that we've seen in the past. So their defense got some inexperience back, lost a couple of guys in the portal as well. Do return Kydron Jenkins and Dylan Thieneman are their two kind of impact players. Guys, my big thing I want to call out in this game, can we run the ball effectively on offense? Teams have demolished them. Can we do it? Even if they know we're going to do it. Can we man up and run the ball with our running backs for 4 quarters?
I hope so.
Me too.
It'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that we're not really worried talking about Purdue in the air raid sense, even though their offensive coordinator is an air raid guy. They have Hudson Card, former Longhorn backup, who's okay. I mean, he's not great. He was there last year too and wasn't great.
I'd say he's regressed his whole college career.
Ever since he was at Texas.
Yeah, I think he's gotten worse every year.
Yeah, and we beat him up last year. I think he even got injured and went out of the game. I mean, we physically kicked his butt in last year's game, and that was one that we were up by a lot, and they kind of creeped back in it, and we're like, are we going to lose this? And we didn't. We ended up winning at home.
I agree. I think we need to run the ball on them. I would like to see us score a lot of points. I don't expect us to put up 66 like Notre Dame, but if they're giving up like probably 30 points a game at this point, if not more, it would be disheartening if our offense isn't able to move the ball on them, to be honest. I feel like our offense has actually looked pretty all right. We've had a couple of penalty issues, but as far as moving the ball goes, I think we've done pretty well.
If you can't move the ball against this team and do what you want to do, then you got major problems coming down the road. This is the one team that you should try to figure out things on offense on.
Maybe. I guess I'm curious, going back to the identity and what we're trying to do. Like last week, we kind of gave up on the run game because it wasn't working. Whereas last year, right, we relied on the run game and everybody knew we were going to run the ball the whole game, and yet it still worked pretty effectively throughout. Well, our offense was still bad, but like we still were able to get yards running the ball. I'm curious what the approach is this week. I'm hoping that we're not going to have to score 30 to win this game, but now we have that lingering question of where our defense is at. I mean, if our defense plays well, we should be able to hold them under 20. If they're what we thought pre-Illinois, but right now everybody's got that question of, okay, what happened? What did Illinois see? And our team's going to start copying that on the offensive side, attacking this 3-3-5. It's kind of the first question mark for Tony White that we've seen since he's been here. So
yeah, a little bit of doubt, not real doubt, but the first time we've had to be like, okay, Tony, like, what are you doing? Like, how you gonna fix this? He hasn't really had to fix anything yet.
One other stat that's interesting that to keep an eye on: Purdue's 3-21 their last 2 weeks on third down. So another thing that our defense didn't do a great job last week was getting off the field on third down. I think that'll be important to watch. Hopefully, it's more 3rd and 7 plus versus 3rd and 3s. If Purdue's not able to get their run game going effectively. Score predictions real quick, or score thoughts. Guys, I'm keeping it low scoring. I'm going 24-21 Nebraska. We win a 1-score game on the road. I think there's going to be some struggles and battles here. I think we're not going to be completely satisfied, but I think we're going to get a win. I'm not predicting us to lose on the road. I think Dylan might struggle a little bit first road game in college, although it's not a huge road environment. That still plays a factor into it.
What is the spread? I know. I'm thinking
Yeah.
27-17, but I don't. What is the spread?
10.
9.5
10.
is what I saw.
Okay. So then, yeah, I'm taking 10 points at 27-17. I think there's going to be a lot of ball running. So I think clockwise, I don't think it's going to offer a huge opportunity for scoring, but I think there's just going to be a couple big plays. Keep it
I'll go
lower.
42-21. I think Purdue's defense is terrible.
Thanks for the
All right.
confidence boost, Dak. Appreciate it.
I think it's awful. Like,
All right.
They're
we're
like
gonna get
100th in
picks.
the nation.
Survivor picks. We're gonna start there this week. I do want to say, Dak, do you know you almost lost it last week? Do you realize how close Missouri was to losing to Vanderbilt?
oh shit! I forgot. I forgot. Missouri. Yep.
So
Special teams.
it is close. This is the first week, guys, and I started to be like, oof. This is gonna get tricky here, but I think I got 4 games that I really like. So I'm taking Syracuse against Holy Cross. I'm taking Miami, Ohio. This is the one that scares me a little bit. I think Miami, Ohio is 0-3. They have played better opponents. They're playing UMass. Taking LSU, my first kind of big dog. They're playing South Alabama, but South Alabama looks decent. I'm taking Memphis over Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State's bad.
I would have had Memphis, but I had them on my list, but I forgot to use them last week, so I had to sub them out. I also have Syracuse over Holy Cross. I also have Miami, Ohio over UMass. I have James Madison over Ball State. And then this was the one that I switched out Memphis, and I don't feel great about. I'm a little scared. It's Boston College over Western Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
I also had LSU over South Alabama. I have Iowa State over Houston. And then I have Oregon over UCLA and Ohio over Akron. Only solely because I hate Akron right now. Zip, zip.
Zip, zip. Dak, we'll end it with your picks. Again, 30 seconds-ish still, but say the other team.
All right. I'm just going to fire them out. Here we go. K-State 4.5 over Oklahoma State. BYU plus 3.5 over Baylor. Wisconsin plus 15.5 over USC. Oklahoma minus 2.5 over Auburn. Louisville plus 6.5 over Notre Dame. Iowa State minus 14 over Houston. That's my lock. Georgia minus 2 over Bama. Illinois plus 19 against Penn State. LSU minus 22 against South Alabama. Oregon minus 25.5 over UCLA. Nebraska minus 9.5 over Purdue. Cincy plus 2.5 over Texas Tech. Air Force minus 4 against Wyoming. And Ohio minus 12.5 against Akron. And there's one on here. Oh, Michigan State plus 24 against Ohio State. I couldn't read what I wrote.
So I just heard this. I'm putting 2 together. Iowa State's only a 2.5 point favorite over Houston.
14.
Oh,
2.5. Let's see. What is 2.5 here? Oklahoma's only 2.5 over Auburn.
And yeah, you took Oklahoma. That makes sense. I thought you took Iowa State as a 2.5 point favorite, and then you took Iowa State in your in your survivor pool. I was like, ooh, that's bold.
No, I really like that one. Georgia, Bama. Who you guys got?
Georgia.
Same. I hate both, but
all right, we back Sunday. Go Big Red.
GBR.
Boomer Sooner.